My name is Camille R. Bennett, and I am 35 years old. 3 weeks ago, I discovered something about my husband that didn't just hurt me. It erased my entire marriage on paper. We've been together 9 years total, and we've been married for 7, or at least I thought we were married. I used to say that sentence with pride, like it meant stability, like it meant I could finally exhale. Now it feels like something I said out of habit, the way you keep calling a house home, even after you find out it was built on a sinkhole. It started with my mother-in-law, Dorothy. Her husband passed away last year, and she finally decided to downsize into a new apartment. She asked me to help clear out their attic because I'm the organized one, the one who can look at a pile of boxes and make decisions without getting sentimental every 10 seconds. My husband was at a work conference that weekend, so I went alone. It was supposed to be a normal, tiring day. Dust, old decorations, forgotten photo frames, the soft grief of a woman packing up a life. I was up there sorting through boxes when I noticed an old trunk shoved behind a stack of Christmas decorations. Not the kind of cheap plastic bin you forget about. A real trunk, dark wood, worn corners, like it had been moved carefully and then hidden. Something about that made my stomach tighten. I pulled it out, wiped the dust off, and popped the latch. Inside was a wedding album. Not Dorothy's. A really nice one, white leather with gold trim. The kind of album someone buys when they want the day to feel permanent. I opened it expecting old family photos, maybe Dorothy in a vintage dress. Maybe the kind of pictures people cry over when they're older. Nope. It was my husband, in a suit I'd never seen, smiling like he was standing at the start of a life. And beside him was a woman in a wedding dress, her arm linked through his, her face turned toward him with that look people get when they truly believe they're safe. The name written inside the cover in careful handwriting stopped my breath. Giselle. I flipped the page. Church ceremony, vows, rings, reception, cake cutting, first dance, the whole deal. These weren't engagement photos. These were wedding photos, proof in glossy color, the kind of proof you can't argue with because it doesn't rely on memory. There were even honeymoon pictures that looked like the Caribbean, bright water, sunburned shoulders, two people laughing like nothing could touch them. The date stamped on one of the pages made my hands go cold. 2 years before I met him. I knew my husband had told me he'd been engaged before. He mentioned Giselle early in our relationship in that casual way. People mention a past they think they've buried. He said they were young, stupid, got engaged, and broke it off before the wedding. He made it sound like it ended clean, like it was almost a joke. I believed him because why wouldn't I? Most people don't lie about something that big with a straight face for years. Except he did. I closed the album and just sat there on the attic floor, staring at it like it might rewrite itself if I looked hard enough. My first instinct was to think there had to be an explanation. Maybe it was a styled photo shoot. Maybe it was a family prank. But the way the photos were arranged, the way the signatures appeared in the background of a reception shot, the way the date lined up with the timeline he'd given me, it didn't feel fake. It felt like something he thought would never be found. That night, I sat at my kitchen table and started digging like my sanity depended on it. I found Giselle on social media faster than I expected. She lived 3 states away now. Her profile showed a remarried life, kids, a normal existence. She looked like someone who'd survived something and kept going. I stared at her smile and wondered what it cost her. I messaged her with the dumbest excuse I could think of. Something about genealogy research and family history, trying to sound casual so she wouldn't shut down immediately. I expected her to ignore me or ask who I was. Her reply made my blood run cold. She said my husband and she got married young, and it was the biggest mistake of her life. She said he disappeared one day, left a note about needing to find himself, and never signed the divorce papers she sent. She said she had to wait 5 years to get it dissolved for abandonment. 5 years. My stomach dropped again, slower this time, because my brain started lining up the dates without my permission. If he vanished and she had to wait 5 years to dissolve it, that meant there was a very real chance he was still legally married when he married me, which meant our wedding wasn't just a betrayal, it could be invalid. It could be a crime. When my husband got home from his conference, I didn't scream. I didn't throw the album. I put it on the coffee table like a loaded weapon and waited. The moment he saw it, the color drained from his face so fast, he actually stumbled backward and grabbed the door frame like the room tilted. His eyes locked on that white leather cover like it was a ghost. "Where?" he whispered. "Where did you get that?" I looked at him and I felt something in me go very still. "Your mother's attic," I said. "Same place you hid it." He stood there staring at the album like it might bite him, and for 1 second I saw something raw flash across his face. Not guilt, not grief, fear. The kind of fear that comes from paperwork, not feelings. From consequences, not conscience. "It's not what it looks like," he said automatically, like he'd practiced that sentence for a day he never thought would come. "It's a wedding album," I said, keeping my voice steady, because if I let it crack, I knew he'd try to steer the conversation into emotion instead of facts. "Your wedding album. With Giselle." He swallowed hard. "That was annulled. I told you about it." "Really?" I said. "Because Giselle says differently. She says you never signed divorce papers. She says she had to wait 5 years for abandonment." His eyes darted, like he was searching for a lie that could survive daylight. Then he gasped, actually gasped, and his voice thinned. "Oh my God, how did you get this wedding photo?" When he said it, it was like he admitted the thing he was trying not to admit. He wasn't shocked the album existed. He was shocked I'd found it. "You talked to her," he said, tone shifting, trying to regain control. "Yeah," I said. "I talked to her, and according to the dates, you were still legally married to her when you married me." That's when his face changed again. Panic washed over him like someone dumped a bucket of cold water down his spine. His hands went slightly shaky, and I watched his mind sprint ahead to the parts of the story that had nothing to do with heartbreak and everything to do with handcuffs. "You can't tell anyone," he said quickly. "You can't. We can fix this. We'll just get remarried quietly. No one has to know." I stared at him. "Our entire marriage is a lie." He snapped back like a cornered animal. "You had no right to go through my mother's things. That was private." "Your mother asked me to help her move," I said. "And private. We're supposed to be married. There shouldn't be secrets like this." For the next few hours, he cycled through every manipulation tactic like he was spinning a wheel. First tears, saying he was young and scared and didn't know how to tell me. Then anger, claiming I violated his privacy. Then bargaining, promising we could work it out if I just kept quiet. The worst part was when he finally admitted it, not with remorse, but with irritation. He knew the divorce was never properly finished. He knew he'd never signed what he was supposed to sign. He figured enough time had passed that it wouldn't matter, that Giselle would have handled it, that the universe would clean up his mess the way it always seemed to. "Do you have any idea what you've done?" I asked, and my voice finally shook because the scale of it was hitting me. "Our marriage license could be fraudulent. Our taxes for 7 years filed as spouses. My insurance that covers you. This isn't just about us." "You're overreacting," he said sharply. "People make mistakes." "Mistakes," I repeated. "You knowingly committed bigamy." He tried to leave then, said he needed space to think, like he was the one who needed oxygen. I told him he could have all the space he wanted, but the album was staying with me. That's when he got nasty, like the mask slipped because he realized I wasn't going to be quiet. "You think you're so perfect," he sneered. "You want to destroy my life over some technicality." "Technicality," I echoed. "Our marriage being invalid is a technicality." "I chose you," he said, trying a softer tone like it was romance. "Isn't that what matters?" I actually laughed, the sound sharp and ugly in my own throat. "You chose me while legally married to someone else. That's not romantic. That's illegal." He left that night and stayed with his brother for a few days. During that time, I did what any reasonable person would do when they realized they might be an unwitting participant in a crime. I protected myself legally. I didn't call a divorce lawyer at first because the word divorce felt ridiculous when I wasn't even sure I was married. I consulted an attorney who specialized in family law and fraud-related filings. When I explained the situation, his face did something I won't forget, like disbelief fighting with professional curiosity. "In 30 years," he said, "this is a first for me." He confirmed what I already suspected. In our state, bigamy was a felony, not a slap on the wrist. Real time, real fines. And even if I was the innocent spouse, the documents we'd signed over 7 years could be questioned. Taxes, insurance, benefits, anything that relied on marital status. He told me to keep everything, the album, screenshots, messages, any proof of what I found and when. While I was trying to breathe through that, his family started calling. First Dorothy, crying, swearing she had no idea the album was in her attic. She said she genuinely believed his first marriage had been annulled. I believed her. Dorothy was kind. She wasn't part of the lie, she was just collateral. Then his sister called, and that's when the entitlement really showed. Apparently, he'd told them I was being vindictive, that I was threatening to ruin his life over paperwork issues from before we met. She actually said, "Can't you just let this go? He loves you. Why does it matter what happened before?" "It matters because we're not legally married," I said. "It matters because he lied to me for 7 years. It matters because he committed a crime." She sighed like I was exhausting. "God, you're such a drama queen. Just get remarried and move on." Remarried. Like you can fix fraud with more fraud. Like you can glue a shattered foundation back together and call it a house. Then the texts started. Hundreds of them. Love bombing, to threats, to guilt, to rage. Sometimes within the same 5-minute stretch. He told me he loved me. He told me I was ruining his life. He told me if I ever loved him, I'd keep quiet. My favorite was, "I gave you the best years of my life, and this is how you repay me." I responded once, and only once. "You gave me 7 years of lies. Do not contact me again unless lawyers are present." That's when he went nuclear. 2 days later, he showed up at my work. I'm a project manager at an engineering firm, and I was in a meeting when a reception called saying my husband was there with an emergency. I knew it was a lie, but I went to the lobby anyway because I refused to let him weaponize emergency around my colleagues. There he was, dressed like he'd stepped out of an ad, wearing the kind of confident smile that used to make people trust him. He was holding a box of my belongings from the house like a prop. He spoke loud enough for everyone nearby to hear. "We need to talk. You can't just throw away 7 years." "This isn't the place," I said through my teeth. "You won't answer my calls," he said, stepping closer. "You won't meet me. What choice did I have?" I took him outside to the parking lot. That's when he pulled out a manila envelope like he'd been saving it for a grand reveal. "Divorce papers," he said. "From Giselle. Dated 6 months ago. See? We can fix this. We just need to get remarried. Backdate some things." I felt my stomach turn. "Backdate? You mean commit more fraud?" "It's not fraud if we're fixing a mistake," he snapped, like the law would clap for creativity. "Those papers are dated 6 months ago," I said. "We've been married 7 years. That's 6.5 years of bigamy." He actually stomped his foot, like a child who wasn't getting dessert. "Why are you being so difficult? I'm trying to fix this." "You can't fix 7 years of lies with more lies," I said. His face darkened. "Fine. You want to be like this. I want my share of the house. I want alimony. You want alimony from a marriage that doesn't legally exist," I cut in. "Good luck." He lunged for my fear then, the way he always did when charm failed. He threatened to tell everyone I was emotionally abusive, that I isolated him, that I was controlling. I looked at him and felt something settle in my chest. "I have the wedding album," I said quietly. "I have messages from Giselle. I have 7 years of documents with your signature. You really want to play victim." He threw the box at my feet and called me a monster. Then he stormed off, but not before keying my car in full view of our security cameras. Real smart. That night, while I was filing the vandalism report, my lawyer called and said she'd found something else. During our marriage, he'd been filing taxes a certain way and claiming deductions and benefits I hadn't authorized. He'd used marital status for insurance advantages and workplace perks. It wasn't just bigamy anymore, it was a web. And the more he pushed, the more the truth pushed back harder. The first police report I filed wasn't for bigamy, it was for vandalism. The irony of that still gets me. 7 years of lies, a fraudulent marriage, potential felonies, stacked like bricks, and the thing that officially put his name into a system was him dragging a key down the side of my car because he couldn't control the story anymore. The security footage was clean, clear angle, his face visible. My lawyer told me to treat it like a gift because it established intent, escalation, and a pattern of intimidation. Once the vandalism report was in, the rest moved faster than I expected. My attorney contacted the district attorney's office about the bigamy issue and provided the documentation. They didn't laugh. They didn't shrug. They asked for copies. Then they asked for more. It turns out when someone knowingly marries a second spouse without dissolving the first marriage, signs legal documents, files taxes, and claims benefits over multiple years, prosecutors tend to pay attention. His parents tried to intervene. They offered a settlement through his lawyer, floated numbers, hinted that if I just stopped cooperating, this could all go away quietly. My lawyer actually laughed during the call. "Your client committed multiple felonies," she said. My client is the victim. We're not taking a payoff. That was the moment I realized they still thought this was a negotiation, not a reckoning. The IRS got involved next. During the review of our filings, they found irregularities. He'd been filing as married in ways that benefited him without my knowledge. Deductions, benefits, insurance classifications. It wasn't just bigamy anymore. It was tax fraud and insurance fraud layered over a fraudulent marriage. Each discovery made the timeline heavier, not just emotionally, but legally. Giselle, his first legal spouse, filed a civil suit for emotional distress and fraud. Her lawyer subpoenaed me as a witness. During the deposition, I learned things that made my stomach drop all over again. After he left her, he took out credit cards in their joint names, maxed them out, and let them default. Her credit was destroyed for years. He'd claimed her as a dependent on his taxes the year he vanished, increasing his refund while she scrambled to rebuild. It was never just one lie, it was always a system. Her lawyer asked if I wanted to join the civil suit. I declined. I didn't want damages, I wanted distance. I wanted the truth on record and my name clear. The criminal case didn't drag on. He took a plea deal when the evidence stacked too high to argue with. Attempted bigamy reduced from bigamy, filing false documents, insurance fraud, criminal mischief for the car, 2 years probation, 200 hours of community service, $5,000 in fines, and mandatory letters of apology to me, to Giselle, and to the court. He also lost his job when the fraud charges became public. Companies don't like risk, and he was nothing but. The letters arrived months later. His to me was 3 pages long and said everything except the words, "I'm sorry." He blamed confusion, youth, pressure, love. He said he never meant to hurt anyone. He said I destroyed his life over a piece of paper. He said I chose righteousness over forgiveness. I folded it and put it in a drawer because it confirmed what I already knew. He didn't regret the lies. He regretted being caught. His family wrote to me too, apologizing, admitting this wasn't the first time he'd done something like this. In college, he'd been simultaneously engaged to 2 women, taking money from both for wedding planning. They paid it back and hushed it up. They called it a mistake back then. I called it rehearsal. Therapy helped, not because it erased the betrayal, but because it gave me language for it. I learned how easily trust can be weaponized by someone who treats people like parallel projects. I joined a support group for fraud victims and realized how common it is for lies to wear the face of love. I started dating again, slowly, cautiously, with humor where fear used to live. My standard first date joke became, "So, any other marriages I should know about?" People laughed. I watched how they laughed. You learn to listen differently after something like this. Giselle and I stayed in touch. Not friends exactly, but allies. We compared notes on healing, on rebuilding, on the strange relief that comes when the truth finally stops moving. She told me her current marriage had been strained because of what he did to her years ago, and seeing him finally face consequences gave her closure she didn't know she needed. The house we lived in had been mine before the marriage, so there was no fight over assets. The joint account was frozen during the investigation and distributed based on documented contributions. Clean break, legally speaking. Emotionally, that's what therapy is for. Last week, I got a letter from him asking me to put money into his commissary account because the food was terrible and he had dietary restrictions. Even now, even here, the entitlement persisted. I didn't respond. Giselle got one too. She framed hers and hung it in her garage as a reminder to trust her gut in future relationships. People ask me if I regret not letting it go quietly, if I wish I'd just fixed it and moved on. I don't. Fraud is fraud, whether it's committed by a stranger or someone you loved. Silence would have made me complicit. When my kids asked if their stepfather was sorry, I told them the truth in a way they could carry. Some people don't know how to be sorry. They only know how to be caught. I didn't destroy a marriage. I discovered it never existed. And when someone shows you who they are through years of actions, not words, believe them the first time.